All right, and we are live right now with Danny from Raal. How are you, man? It's good to see you.
Outstanding. Good to see you.
Pleasure. So, man, this is a packed house at Can Jam 2024.
I think this is the biggest day I've ever seen with any Can Jam.
I would agree 100%. Not only from just the perspective of how many people are here checking out everything, but like vendors and manufacturers, and it's just like it's a packed house. So
it really is.
So if you're in SoCal, there's one day left. You can come down here and check it out. If you're not going to be able to get down today, we still have tomorrow. So make sure you come down. You can do a one-day ticket and come check everything out. And if you're not, that's why we're here. We're live streaming for you today, all through probably about 5:36 today, and then all day tomorrow until about 5 o'clock. So stay right here with us. So tell us about, you have 2 new headphones coming out. Tell us about these, because there's a lot of excitement online already.
So. It's been a really exciting project. They actually showed for the first time in Heidelberg, Germany in February. And then I showed them for the first time in the States in March. They took off immediately. They were back ordered for as long as 5 months in that initial batch of people. And now, typical order coming in is about 2 months.
Okay.
So we've gotten down the process a little better. I'm actually shocked with how successful it's been, only because we had our initial estimates of kind of what we thought we would sell in the first year.
Right.
And we were way off. I think we've sold 6 times what we...
Wow, that's awesome, though.
Yeah, it really is.
Fantastic.
It's been really a great run. The 2 models, the Imminas is the most popular. That's the 3 ribbon version.
Okay.
And then there's a 2 ribbon version, which is called the Magna.
Okay.
People have different opinions. Imminas is definitely the most popular, but the Magna is very relevant, and I really like the Magna a lot myself.
Okay.
So we'll see, but Imminas definitely is the most popular
right now. And then price-wise, what are they going to be, or what are they retail for, I guess, between the 2?
Imminas is $9,500.
Okay.
And Magna is $6,500.
Okay, cool. And then, as far as amplification, what do you like to listen to the 2 headphones with as far as amplification goes?
Well, traditionally in the past, our headphones required
specific,
a lot more power.
Yeah.
That first SR1, when that came out,
it was hungry. It was very hungry
100
for power.
watts.
Yeah.
You needed 100 watts, and that was just the way we were doing it. And then later, we developed some direct drive amplifiers, and then also we came up with the transformer interface. So with the SR1, it was still nice to have a minimum of 6 watts using that method. But Imminas, it's much more sensitive. It'll give you full output with about 2.5 watts.
That's not bad at all.
118 dB with 2.5 watts.
That's good.
Yeah, so it's a little more power hungry than, say, something that would be like a headphone jack that's in a CD player or something like that. That's not going to drive it.
No.
But a decent headphone amp will drive it. I've had some favorites. I really like the Viva 2A3 for driving it. Very nice amp. The Envy by Felix Audio, great amp. That's one I use personally the most. But there's all kinds of great amps going on. I hope later today I want to try the new Woo Audio 24.
Yes.
I've been getting a lot of feedback from people.
I've heard good things. Yeah.
They take their Imminas over to Woo and then come back and tell me, hey, this
check it out.
Yeah. So I'm going to check that out. Alex and I, we've been talking some ideas for a very specific amplifier that I think we're actually making very good progress. Alex has been working particularly hard on it. I'm thinking maybe around March we might have a new amp to show. What'll be interesting about that amp is you can drive planar and dynamic. It also does IEMs.
Ah, very cool.
but also it'll have a direct drive output for the Imminas and Magna.
Which is great. So you can use it for your entire collection. So
Pretty much,
Yeah.
just not the E-stats.
well, yeah, of course,
Yeah.
yeah. That's cool though. Very cool.
Yeah, it'll cover a lot of ground. This has been a, all quality possible. We're not cutting any corners or trying to do anything to compromise, making what we think is an amplifier that's worthy of a headphone like a Modus.
Right.
It's going to be special.
And the reason why we don't have the headphones here, too, if you're watching live from home right now, is because we had to steal Danny away from the booth just to even get him over here to talk about it. But there's like a line that goes like around the corner for people to listen to him. So we wanted to make sure the Can Jam visitors here have the ability to listen to them. So we didn't want to take them. But you can go to their website and you can see some pictures now.
Yeah.
So, check them out. So you said you kind of, the Magnas, you kind of like it a little bit. Why do you lean towards that sound? I mean, obviously they're different headphones, but I love to find out why people like certain sounds, just 'cause
Sure,
it's fun.
Exactly. Well, and that is it. It's a subjective opinion.
Yep.
And I realize I'm different in what I tend to listen to over differently than most people. Most of my listening is smaller groups, jazz trios or small string quartets.
Sure.
I also listen to really big stuff, but most of my listening is more intimate type of music.
Sure.
And Manus, it's amazing. Like, if you listen to something really big, like a symphony orchestra, say a Berlin Symphony Orchestra with their incredible bass section and all of that, that headphone scales up. I've never heard a headphone do that before. Right. It's huge.
Right.
And it'll also scale down, but for my listening of smaller groups, it's kind of focused in that smaller land.
Right. More intimate, for the intimate type of music you enjoy.
Exactly, yes. So it just, it aesthetically, from a musical sense of aesthetic, that fits in a little better for me. But, I mean, it's obvious why everybody's buying the Imminas. It's a monster. Yeah. And it just, if you're looking for the biggest headphone sound, it's got it. It's big, it's accurate, it's very clear. It's a really, there's nothing like it.
That's cool. I can't wait to hear it. I'm going to definitely, probably it's either going to be before we start or like as everybody's closing up, because I'm here constantly. End of the show, But I'll definitely check it out. And then when you have more, I'd love to review it and film it and do the whole thing for the source. Yeah, it'd be great. Let's see if there's any questions. You guys just drop them into the chat. So when you are producing and making headphones, right? What does that process look like to you? Does it start with the music? Does it start with the customer? Like, how does that work for you guys?
Oh, that's really a good question. It's probably hard to identify because at any given time, you're probably recognizing various weaknesses in what you're currently doing or what you would aspire to make better.
On. Yeah, sure.
So you never know what it's going to be.
Right.
I think in the case of these current headphones, it's like we were doing single ribbon designs, and Alex gets all the credit for that. He does all the heavy engineering lifting.
Sure.
And when we initially started this, it started as a conversation. Alex and I had been involved with various projects for 10 years together, and one afternoon I happened to call him and say, because we were doing this really a big omnidirectional speaker system.
Right.
And I said, Alex, we really need to look into making headphones.
Right.
And he said, I've been thinking that maybe we could make a ribbon headphone, which had never been done before.
Right. Yep.
But Alex had been making ribbon tweeters for quite some time, since 1995, actually, which is why the name Raal 1995. that was the beginning of Alex selling his first
Ribbon
speaker
tweeter.
system.
Yeah, yeah.
And so he said, "Yeah, I've been thinking about it," and he goes, "There's a lot to make it actually work," and it turned out there was, because we did not have a headphone. This was in 2010 when we had this conversation, and we continued talking about it, and it wasn't until 2018 that we finally had the SR1.
Right.
It was 8 years.
And it was revolutionary when it came out too.
Yeah.
I mean, there was nothing like it.
Yeah, I still get people, even people that own a Imminas and Magna. They'll call me. I just got one from a guy in New York the other day. John, if you're out there, howdy, buddy. Thanks.
Hey,
for
John.
Thanks for the text.
Yeah.
He was saying, since getting Imminas, I haven't heard my SR1s, and he goes, this morning I put them on. He goes, I'm still amazed what a great headphone that is.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, I think that's a headphone that will be very significant in the history of headphones.
Absolutely. And that's not going anywhere. The SR1 is going to continue to be in the lineup, correct? So,
yeah.
And then the other two, the new headphones aren't necessarily replacing them. It's more of an evolution, in a sense.
That's exactly right. Yeah, these were just Alex and I. In fact, originally when we talked in 2010 or so, we talked about multi-ribbon designs, but there were really a lot of concerns about how could that be accomplished. Because with the typical circumaural headphone, when you put them on, there's a little bit of air compression happening that is going on in that sealed environment.
Right.
And ribbons are so thin. I mean, they're like silk or lace. They're very, very thin.
Yep.
In fact, both of those are way bigger than ribbon.
Actual ribbon. Yeah.
So the concern was you put these on too fast, and if you get enough of an air cushion, you're going to blow the ribbons out.
Oh, shoot.
Because old ribbon microphones, back in the early days, they used to give you a sock to put them in. And if you put that sock on too fast, you could actually blow the ribbon out.
Yeah.
So we were aware of that, and we were very concerned. That was, I don't remember it specifically being this way, but that might have been part of why we came up with that original open baffle type design, is that you wouldn't have that issue if you had a ribbon that wasn't in a pressurized environment.
Right.
So that we went another, that was in 2018, and these came out in 2024, so that was another 6 years before the technology, the engineering, and the development that Alex was working on would finally get to where we could actually release a product into the real world that's prone to all kinds of possible handling damage.
Right.
It turns out they're really solid. So far, we have not had one failure.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so they've been really solid. The same with the SR1. Out of all those headphones that we did, which was a lot, I've never seen us have a burnout ribbon. I've seen people crinkle them or pull them out and smash them somehow.
Messing with them, Or
maybe overdrive and have them hit the magnet, but I've never seen a driver burnout.
That's impressive.
Yeah, maybe it's happened. I'm just saying I haven't seen it.
Right.
It's that rare.
Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, that's confidence in buying a product you know that is going to last.
Well, what's fascinating to us is we were going into something that was very fragile, and we had a lot of insecurity of how is this thing going to last in real world environment, getting thrown around and that sort of thing. And since then, I've kind of come to think that it's actually very robust technology, at least the way Alex implemented it. It's really highly reliable.
Right.
And we weren't necessarily confident of that.
Well, it's good now, so
now we know.
That's part of business. You learn as you go too. Any business.
Yeah.
So these are both available for purchase now, but only direct through your website at the time.
That's
for the time being, and then later down the road, dealers like us will carry them and other dealers throughout the nation.
Yes. Yeah. Our problem right now is that the backlog, like I say, we have 5-6 times what we were expecting.
Yeah.
We don't want to have a whole new range of people on the waiting list and have him back up and make a disappointing
It's
experience.
just going to grow that list. The
We
more
got to,
you open it
we
up.
got to grow the network as we grow our ability
Production
to build
capabilities. Yep.
production. Yes,
That makes so much sense, and I respect that because a lot of times there's, no, we don't name manufacturers. That's not how we are. But
Sure.
there's sometimes that happens with some manufacturers, and then you buy something and it's been over a year or two and you still haven't received it, and that's just causes frustration. So
it causes frustration. It causes just a general bad experience for everybody, and you get your hopes up. It's just no fun to be that way.
Totally.
And I feel a little bit guilty for causing that situation for the people that have had to wait. But it was just the reality, and they really wanted it. But they were advised in advance.
Yeah, as long as you know going into it, you know. So,
Yeah.
I mean, then you make that choice with that knowledge. So, yeah.
We just didn't want to pile that up too much.
Makes total sense.
I would say, just guessing, February, March, we may be able to put together a few dealers here in the U.S. Right now, it's through Raal Requisite in North America here, South America. But like in Germany and in Singapore and in China, we have additional shops in those areas.
Okay, cool.
But the U.S. will come on to retailers.
Like first quarter, beginning of second quarter,
exactly.
something like that.
Uh-huh.
Okay, cool. Awesome. We don't have any questions yet. I'm trying to think of any other questions that I have. So you said the Imminas is more the larger scalable sound. So that could be like big orchestral compositions. How do the two headphones sound with like rock or more modern genres of music?
Yeah, they're both perfectly comfortable and capable of that. Absolutely. I probably should have used some more examples of a range of stuff, but really they're just an excellent transducer. So whatever you put into them, they're comfortable. They really play it all. I've had a lot of people, probably the biggest surprise to a lot of people, because the SR1 being an open baffle, it didn't have the traditional headphone base that you've come to expect.
Sure.
With these headphones, I've had people tell me they're the deepest, lowest playing headphones they've ever.
Definitely got to hear that then.
Yeah, they will play, if you give them the source material, they play really low.
Sweet.
And it's interesting too, because when they're made, they're tuned a little bit high, because as the ribbons play for a while, they need a little break-in period.
Yeah, sure.
Because they'll loosen up.
Yep.
So they're tuned about an octave higher than they're intended to play when they're finally broken in. So people will get these new headphones and they'll call me right away and say, I can't believe a ribbon has this kind of bass. And I tell them, wait for 100 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Give it 100 hours to loosen up, and then it'll settle into what our true target frequency is.
Well, and see, I'm so glad you said that, because it drives me a little crazy sometimes on videos when I'm producing, and people are like, headphone break-in isn't real, speaker break-in isn't real. I'm like, well, physics would tell you a little bit different, because, but it's just one of those internet debates that'll never end. But I love it when the manufacturer specifically states, actually, it is real, and, this is a peak point. So
part of our design process is accounting
for that and tuning it in that way so you know when that hits.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I was always, especially with electronics, I was a little bit agnostic about breaking. People talk about breaking.
For sure.
And so in one of my companies, we make studio processors, and we make a mastering limiter, and we've been making that limiter since 1999.
Very cool.
And what's fascinating, other than a few features that have been added, the heart of the circuit is exactly the same for the last 24 years. And what amazed me is when I finally realized that break-in is very real, is we could have new limiters that are on the bench ready for listening test. Then, let's say a limiter came in from 20 years ago that had been out in the field in a studio.
Getting used every day.
Used every day. And you set the two side by side, the broken in one will always sound better than the brand new one. And like I say, I was agnostic about it until I really saw for myself, time after time, wow, the old units, after they've played a while, they relax. I do think in some electronics, as an example, with vacuum tube electronics, especially, we use a lot of carbon composition, the old, like Allen Bradley type resistors. Those, over time, they stretch. So, like, say, if it's a 100K resistor when it's new, I've seen, like, with old guitar amps, we also manufacture guitar amps under the brand Standell. We have amps that are, like, made in the 50s.
Right.
And if they come in for a repair and you see a 100 ohm resistor, you take it off, it might be 300 ohms.
Whoa.
And so these different components,
Right.
depending on the stresses they're under, they stretch at different rates.
Right.
So it's very interesting how that will change the tonality. So if I've got an old amp that we're working on for, especially someone that's like a recording artist and they're very concerned about the sound of the amp, we can't just say, oh, that plate resistor burned out. It's 100K, put 100K in there. No, you got to
because that's going to change the sound.
You got to measure it, and the new one you put in needs to be where you left it off, or else
your client's going to be upset and be like, "Wait, why does this not sound like my old one?"
What happened?
Yeah, that makes total sense.
So there is actually, evidence,
Yeah.
Empirical evidence that you can prove and point to.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the values of these resistors aren't what they were when you put them in.
Yeah.
So there are real changes happening. It's not just imaginary.
Yeah, and then there is also too, and I think the other side of the coin is there's also our ears will adjust to sound as well.
Absolutely.
Like, so there's the psychoacoustic factor as well, but
Yeah.
there's the physics too. There's
Yeah.
science, and then there's more science of our ears adapting, right? So,
Oh yeah.
So
and there, but it really is provable. They
I
really
agree.
do change.
I agree.
And so break-in is essential.
Cool.
And in the case with what Alex is doing, he's anticipating that effect so that when they break in, they aren't too loose. We want them, by the time they've relaxed, they're where we want them to be.
Perfect.
So when you first get that headphone, as good as the bass is, it just gets better and better and better. It's really
exciting.
cool.
So you got to send when I review them, you got to send me in a broken-in pair then, or
That's all I've got.
Or maybe I listen to the how. Well, if that's all you got, that's perfect then.
That's all I've got. I've got one. We can't get any more headphones.
Yeah.
So I've got one Imminas and one Magna that I've taken to all the shows since February, and I send them out on tours in between shows. I send them to people's houses so they can listen to them. So these headphones are well broken into. Yeah,
cool, perfect.
You'll hear what you're gonna hear. After
that's
the
perfect.
break-in, yeah.
And then, so what's next for you? What other shows you have this year planned? You traveling anywhere else?
Yeah, we got Can Jam in Dallas.
Yep. To end the season for Can Jam, right? Yep.
Yeah, well, I was actually Can Jam last year. We were supposed to show the Imminas here.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't done
ready yet. Okay.
Then we thought we'd have it for Dallas, so we scheduled Dallas. Wasn't done.
Okay.
So finally, it was done in February when Alex showed it in Heidelberg, and then I had it for March. Can Jam,
yep.
New York.
New York. Yep.
So we always do all the Can Jams. Plus, we pick up some other shows, like always Exponent is good.
Yeah.
We've got, there's a couple. Oh, I've been doing private shows, which has been great. The first one I did was in Denver, and that was about 4 months ago. And surprisingly, we had like 30 people show up.
Well, and it's probably not nearly as loud either, so that's kind of nice. Like a quieter listening environment, I guess.
It was a better listening environment. And we were in a 28th floor of a skyscraper in Denver, and they have a lot of meeting rooms. So we had smaller groups in 4 different rooms. So it kept that overall ambient noise down. But it was a great show. We had a great time. And I just agreed to do another one on December 7th. We're going to have another one in Denver.
Cool.
But then after that, I did one in San Jose, which was fantastic.
Very cool.
Really fun. And then I did another one. For some reason, I'm not remembering it. But there's been these small, like, local headphone groups. So if they call me and say, hey, any chance you come out?
Maybe.
If I can.
Yeah,
it's
maybe
like,
then.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, well, exactly.
They're really fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I know you have to get back to your booth because you're manning it, but while you're on these trips, Do you ever get to see any cool shows or live shows? You get to see some jazz sets or some concerts that you love?
I love hearing jazz, but I can say I haven't seen any, and I do enjoy good live music. But usually, by the time you do the show, especially when
You're
out of town,
exhausted, yeah, and traveling, different time zones, yeah.
this
I
is
get that.
actually the easiest one for me is SoCal because I live in Ventura.
Yeah, you're close.
So I drive down. It's really fun. I'll go out with some friends for dinner tonight, but I'd be too exhausted to even hear a band.
Yeah, you're like, I just want to lay down and go to bed.
Yeah, enough music.
Yeah, I mean, when I do these live streams for 2 days straight too, everybody's like, hey, you gonna come out and do something tonight? I'm like, going to bed. I'm gonna eat
you
and go
come
to bed.
over and shoot a video?
Yeah, that's what they do. It's like, hey, you want to come film this? I'm like, I'm gonna go eat and go to sleep.
I'm good.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Danny. It's
Absolutely.
always a pleasure, and thank you everybody that joined us, and we appreciate you. Stay tuned here.
Yeah.
We have I think we got Rob Watts coming up at 4 o'clock, and then a couple other live streams today. So if you can't make it down here, we're here for you live streaming, and we'll keep dropping in the CanJam SoCal 2024 impressions thread all these videos. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon on the next one.